All right, so as we're jumping in and talking about some more stuff, this is my naive approach to helping you answer 80% of the cryptography questions on the exam. So pay attention. If you suck at cryptography, then I'm going to give you a way that you can remember for the 5 to 7 questions that you'll see on the exam. I'm going to give you a way that you can get at least 80% of them correct just by being able to place things into one of these 3 buckets. So yeah, I'm saying that it's likely you're going to have 5 to 7 questions. And if you miss them, remember, it's adaptive. The test is adaptive to the point where you'll start to see more of the questions start to get peppered into there. And so easy way that people typically remember is either we give mnemonic ways, we talk about phallic things, or I start cussing. Those are typically either crude, phallic, or mnemonic are the 3 different ways that people remember difficult concepts. And I'm sure that there's other ways that you guys could probably teach me, and but that's typically what I see works for a lot of our students as they come through the boot camps. And so why do I say that? Well, with crypto, it can be super, super difficult. And I want you to at a super high level, keep this in mind. So with symmetric key encryption, did you know that the most beautiful people in the world are the people that have a perfectly symmetrical face? And so all these supermodels that we see that are out there in all the magazines or on the TikTok and the Instagram, those people typically are considered quote unquote more appealing to the masses because they have a perfectly symmetrical face. And so what does that mean? That means that it's the same on both sides. Just like in 5th grade math, when we learned about symmetrical things that are symmetric, it's the same on both sides. And so with cryptography, which is from the ancient Greek word, crypto is hidden. And I remember when I was a kid watching this show on, I think it was HBO, called Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, so Tales from the Crypt was this like skeleton guy that would always have this really loud cackle laugh and try to scare you. But it was almost like a whodunit kind of thing. The idea is that there's a hidden meaning in beside each one of those episodes, and they do some foreshadowing and those kinds of things. Was it? But anyway, so symmetric means the same. And what does that mean? That means that we could also call it a session key, a shared key, or a public key. Okay. And I don't really like the way that ISC2 uses this last one here, and there's a reason why. And I'll tell you here in a second. In addition to symmetric, we have this thing that's called asymmetric keys. And so asymmetric, right, means not the same. So there's different keys. We call the different keys, there's 2 of them, a keyed pair. And there is a private key and a public key, whereas over here, there's just a shared key, a session key, and the same key. Why, you may ask? Why? Well, with asymmetric encryption, these keyed pairs allow people to find you in the crypto system with the public key, and then allows you to encrypt using your private key. In addition to that, you can also digitally sign things. And so I say that because the easy way to remember asymmetric encryption typically is using PKI, public key infrastructure. And if you think about this, if you show your privates to people, it's no longer private. So anytime that you see a question on the exam, again, for these, there's going to be 5 to 7 questions for all of this stuff that I'm showing you right now in the crypto bucket, 5 to 7 questions. But if you see anything that it says, sharing the private key, you know that that is not the answer, because once you share the private key, it's no longer private. Keep your private parts to yourself. And so asymmetric, different keys, private and public key, and then symmetric. And so usually what we say here is anytime you join a crypto system, so if you guys have sent or received encrypted emails before, then you are part. If you work for the DoD, then you probably have a CAC, but you're part of what we call. It sounds like Lord of the Rings almost when I say it, the realm of trust, quote unquote, the realm of trust. Why is this important? Well, the realm of trust means that you have been enrolled in a crypto system. So at some point, whatever crypto system's being offered at your organization, whether it's symmetric encryption, where the same keys are shared, or asymmetric encryption, where there's a keyed pair for each person, whenever you start at that company or that organization that uses that type of cryptography, there's an enrollment. And so that enrollment means that typically you bring 2 I-9 documentation or documents to the enrollment center with the intent that you can be vetted and then be assigned within the software that has been purchased by this organization the keys that are needed in order for you to do your job. And so this realm of trust, or sometimes you hear it called the web of trust, is what literally holds the logical keys to the kingdom. And so that is the crypto system that typically is governed whenever we join an organization. And so it's software, right? And so people within the organization have access. So like an admin for the crypto system would be able to see your private and your public key. But nobody else would be able to see your private key except for you. So the system administrator could, but that might be a violation of trust if they actually went in there and did that. But sometimes, you need to go and recover those things. And so there are reasons sometimes for us to do that. But at a high level with this crypto bucket, because I know that people typically struggle out the gate, and for 5 to 7 of the 100 questions, I'm giving you 80% confidence that if you are able to put these algorithms that I'm about to show you into these buckets, you can answer 80% of these questions. So what does that mean? Out of the 7, you can answer 5.6, right? 80%. So really, you would miss 1 out of 7 if you just put them in these buckets. So if you know that an algorithm for cryptography is symmetric, and you're able to put it in the bucket, you'll be able to eliminate other answers within the question. And you'll see why here in a second. So the last one here is not encryption. So hashes are not encryption. Why do I say that? Well, because they're not. It's for integrity purposes only. And so what does that mean? Integrity purposes only. What we typically will do is we'll use the hashes to help with this big old word that typically you see CISSPs use in meetings. It's called non-repudiation. And so you can't deny, and I'll play a Tupac song later, probably tomorrow, non-repudiation, where you can't deny that it came from you. And so why do I say that? Because typically people don't know better. They say hashing is encryption, when in fact that it's not. It actually is to show integrity. Has something changed? Has a file changed in transit or at rest? If so, then we can't hold the non-repudiation up in totality. And so these 3, symmetric, asymmetric, and hash, are what I affectionately call the crypto bucket. So before I move on, I want to focus on asymmetric. And so there'll be subtle ways that I typically will recommend that people will remember these crypto buckets so you can get, the 5 to 10 questions correct on the exam. So the first way is this thing that's called 23 braids. But 23 braids is an easy way for us to remember this. And I'll show you this here in a second. I said, who's the best shortstop of all time? My opinion, Derek Jeter. And so whoever answered Derek Jeter, easy way to remember asymmetric encryption is Derek, the acronym Derek. Okay. 23 braids for symmetric, Derek for asymmetric. But lastly here, the hash, easy way to remember this is really not my with this just being a filler so I could make a bad word right there. And so the R, the N, the M, and then the S, H, H, T, that's the way that I typically tell people to remember it. So really not my right there. Okay, so 23 braids, Derek, and really not my shit. So check this out. Why is this important? Well, the algorithms are shown in the mnemonic device over on the left. And so mnemonic device coupled with the algorithm. Mnemonic device coupled with the algorithms here. And if you just take a look at it, all of these in the bucket for symmetric, but yeah, 23 braids, so 2FISH, triple DES, blowfish, RC4 and 5, AES, IDEA, DES, and SAFER. Asymmetric going over here to Derek Jeter. Sometimes for DoD entities, they like us to also say Dear K. This is how typically people that come through the boot camps remember this. So Derek is Diffie-Hellman, elliptical curve cryptography, the Revest, Shamir, and Alderman, or RSA, El Gamal, which is the beautiful one, and then the knapsack. So these are, the algorithms associated with the mnemonic device acronym over here on the left-hand side. And then for the hashing here, remember, it's not encryption. It's for integrity purposes only. Has it changed? Has the data changed from when we created a hash? We could tell. So RIPE MD, message digest. The Microsoft default is the New Technology LAN Manager, or NTLM. MD5, message digest version 5. The secure hashing algorithm, which is 160 bit. HMAC, Haval, and then this is nothing. It's just a filler, just so I could spell a bad word. And then Tiger. And so if you're looking to remember it, really not my right? So I have RIPE MD, NTLM, MD5, SHA, HMAC, Haval, and Tiger. So at a super high level, that's typically how we remember this, okay? Now, why do I bring this up? Well, first off, I want you to pass the exam. And second, this is a topic that so many people suck at. And what I'm trying to do is, if you want to be able to get 5 to 7 questions correct on your exam, if you memorize this and are able to put these into the buckets, then with let's just round it up to 10. Let's say you got 10 of these. You can get 8 out of 10 just by putting them into these buckets, these questions. You can get 8 out of 10, 80% by just putting them into these buckets, okay? And so that's why I show this right off the get-go, is because tomorrow we're going to go through the crypto bucket. Wednesday we'll go through the crypto bucket. Thursday we'll go through the crypto bucket. And then Friday we'll go through the crypto bucket each and every day, to make sure that you understand it.